whenever I'm doing any kind of a business deal, or if I'm talking to my kids, wife, friends, investor, enemy, whoever it is, I'll go through 5 things that I'll try to answer. What are their concerns? What are their fears? What are their motives? What are their assumptions? And what's their ask? Very simple. So I want to know where you're at. Concerns, fears, asks, assumptions, and motives. Okay? Very simple. At the end, you're going to give me your ask. Last 3 years, we're watching Israel, Iran. You got a lot of people in the U.S. all of a sudden, okay, Israel's the enemy, Israel's the enemy, Israel's the enemy. No, it's Iran, Houthis, Hezbollah, what they've done. No, it's Israel. Bibi is this, and, Hamas, they're just trying to protect themselves. Palestine. You've been there, okay? And not Palestine, but you've been to, the Middle East. What is your impression of who is actually an ally of U.S. and who is an enemy of U.S.? Your impression.
My belief is that Israel is 100% our ally. They have the same strategic goals that we have. Their adversaries are often the same adversaries that the United States has. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, Iran. That's why I think Israel aligns very closely with American interests. They make it very difficult for us to call them an ally a lot of times, and I think they do a lot of things that I would say are reprehensible, and again, make it very difficult for me to say that I am someone who supports Israel. But I do think when you talk about it like you're talking about it, was strategically and where interests align, definitely Israel.
What do they do that makes you say, what's the matter with you? What do you guys...
Boy, if I could just give billions of dollars to some country and say, hey, can you delete our enemies in Hezbollah and in Hamas? And then, by the way, can you also destroy Iran's air defense systems? That type of strategic victory, you almost couldn't put a price tag on that. But then there's a lot that Israel does that is against American interests, and it makes you question if are those things worth it at the end of the day.
Such as?
I think the way that they've conducted the war in Gaza is awful. It's awful to, especially now as a new father, I look at some of the images coming out of Gaza, and it's hard, I think, as a human being to look at that type of stuff and not be affected by it. And yeah, so I think those are things that Americans would look at that and be like, that's not someone I want to call my ally. But then you look at the other side of who their enemies are and the stuff that they've done, and it's awful, dirty. It's such a mess.
What have they done that's dirtier?
October 7th was terrible to watch and observe. When I was in the Middle East, I thought that the way life is treated there is kind of different in a way, at least when I was in Iraq. Like the Iraqi police officers, we lived on this small combat outpost, like the size of a football field, and a concrete wall around it. And they mostly targeted the Iraqi police officers that we lived alongside of. The insurgents would kill them on like a weekly basis. And it's just was shocking to me at 19 to see people regularly killed and losing their life. And that after I went back home, once my tour was over, like that was their life. That's just their day in and day out existence. Even though I was no longer there, that's still how things are there. And it's, I think, difficult for us in America to think in those terms, and to think about what it might be like to live in a environment where you're under threat like that for both whoever is there. It's just that whole region, life is almost a different value. And yeah, it's really a mess.
It is. None of those videos are easy to watch on both ends as you go through it. And the part about war is such a freaking nasty game. It's so nasty. It's so ugly.
I think a lot of people in the U.S., we see wars happening over there, and we think, especially when there are things happening here, especially when there are safety and security concerns happening in our own hemisphere, those type of conflicts, it's much easier to then say, what are we doing? What are we doing with 800-something bases around the world when we've got a cartel operating on our border, bringing in boatloads of fentanyl, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans every year? It becomes a lot more difficult to justify those 800-something bases. So I think, and when we see wars in the Middle East, it becomes more difficult. So one of the things more recently I've been looking into are those national security concerns in the Western Hemisphere that I think a lot of times gets overlooked.
Yeah. Well, listen. It's when this whole thing ends and we learn more about everything that happened, I am so curious to know where the consensus will be on what really happened between Israel, Hamas, Iran, all of it, Palestine. And a lot of people in today's world, you can give your opinions, you can give your thoughts, and then there's guys that are on the inside. It's like, I remember my friend was a Delta Force guy for many years. We were in the Army together. He took my orders, and my orders ended up becoming Delta. And at the end, one time I met him, I'm doing a Zoom with him. Late at night, I'm looking at him. He's emotional. I said, what's up? He says, man, I'm having a hard time. So what kind of a hard time? I'm like, really hard time? I said, I'm having a really hard time. I said, I'm going to come visit you. I went and visited him in Europe. And I was with him. We went to did we go to an El Clasico game? I went to an El Clasico game. I think Messi was playing Ronaldo or whatever it was. And then we hung out, and he started telling me, I said, so let me ask you, like, he was in on many of the bigger projects that happened the last 20 years, starting 6 years ago. That's when he got out, give or take. So go back 2019, go back 20 years. 1997 was when I joined, and I met him in 97. So I said, who gets it right politically? He said, nobody. So what do you mean? Nobody gets it right. Everybody gets bits and pieces of it, but nobody gets it fully right. Both sides are full of shit, and both sides get some parts right. So this is the part when jump into conclusion, when it's like, well, here's what I'm going to do. Truth is this. Versus, here's what I think. You know, a lot of people talking with certainties today, throwing a lot of people off.
Hi, I'm Chris Cappy. You probably know me from the YouTube channel Cappy Army. I'm now on Minect. You can find me there, and you can ask me any questions about war corresponding if you're interested in how to get into that, geopolitics, the defense industry, entrepreneurialism, anything you want to chat about, I'm on there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.